Welcome to the Therapy Show podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Mustard. In each episode, I interview a seasoned and knowledgeable talk therapist from the counseling world to glean valuable insights, techniques, and tools that you can apply to your practice and your life. And if you're considering a career in the counseling field or just want to hear about what it's like to be a talk therapist, then this is the podcast for you. Well, hey friends, welcome back to another episode of the podcast. I ended up taking like 2-3 weeks off. I didn't intend to, and I can't stand it. It's like I made a promise to myself that I was going to be releasing episodes every week, and summer has just really bitten me in the you-know-what. But yesterday, our oldest started back to school. She is entering high school. She's a high school freshman. She had her first day, and she also had her very first JV volleyball scrimmage. And she had a really great, exciting day. And she asked me not to put her on social media with one of those back to school posts where everybody shows their kid going back to school. And she's at an age where, I gotta respect that. And I want to abide by that, but it is killing me inside because I'm like every other mom and I'm super proud of my kids. And I want to show them off to everybody and just holler about how great they are. But then I realized that's more about me than it is about them. Right. So I am definitely doing my work around like, why do I feel the need to put my kids out there? But I know I've shared in the past too that I have had a love-hate relationship with social media. And that's really, ever since the pandemic, I find myself taking bigger and longer breaks from social media. I'm not sharing as much as I used to, which is funny because I'm a huge advocate of building your personal brand on social media. But I also realize that it can definitely take a toll on my own mental health. And also, I don't want to be remembering my kids, school age years of me spending time on social media. I don't know. I don't feel good about that. However, I love podcasting and I feel like podcasting is a wonderful way for me to flex my creative muscle, also improve on my skill set, grow a new skill set, and reach my audience and share information and content that I am just really passionate about. And that's what I want to dive into with you guys today is why you should start a podcast. Now, first of all, podcasting isn't for everybody. If you're listening to this and you're like, heck no, Lisa, I have no interest in starting a podcast, then I am not here to convince you to do that. If it's something that you don't want to do, you don't have any interest in, then maybe just share this episode with a friend who would be interested in learning about why they should start a podcast. But I go back to, my initial reason for starting a podcast was I wanted to create continuing education that you could have on the go, that you didn't have to be sitting in front of a computer. You didn't have to be sitting your butt in a chair at an 8-hour conference. I was passionate about new ways to learn and new ways for people to gain their continuing education. So that's really why I started the podcast. And along the way, I have developed a new skill set for myself, which I don't know. I guess I didn't really see that coming. So it's been a really fun and new path for me to go down. In fact, if you go and listen to a handful of my first episodes, they are cringy, as my daughter would say, cringy. But we all start somewhere and you got to start somewhere too. So if you are thinking that podcasting is for you, keep listening because I'm going to tell you what it can do for you. Now, there are lots of personal reasons to start a podcast. A lot of people start a podcast because they're passionate about a topic, they have something to say, and they just want a creative outlet. And if that's you, then go for it. Definitely go for it. If you're not worried about downloads, you're not worried about, trying to create a income with it, then podcasting is just great if you want to just get content out there and just share your thoughts and opinions. Why not? There are people listening to podcasts all the time and they might be really interested in what you have to say. So go for it. One of the things I love about podcasting versus video is podcasting is it's pretty easy to do. It's the content. You don't have to get all, camera ready. Like right now, I am not camera ready. My house is not camera ready. In fact, I have to turn the video off because I record these on Zoom. I turn the video off when I'm just doing audio only because I don't have to be camera ready, which I love that about podcasting. It's so great. And there are minimal startup costs. I've talked about these things on previous episodes. You guys can go and listen to them. One of them was like how to get started with podcasting for under $100. Those episodes exist. So what I think is really on my mind to share with you all is why you should start a podcast for your business. podcasting for your business, it is a marketing tool. It is another way to market what it is that you do and to gain customers, to gain clients, all of those things, to sell your products, to sell your services. Podcasting is a wonderful marketing tool for those things. So when I started the podcast, my goal, like I said, was to create continuing education courses. I didn't have it in the back of my mind that I would be doing anything else. But as I've grown the show and I've grown the downloads and I've grown my connections and my network and, connecting with new people, I have had opportunities present themselves. A lot of them haven't, they were things that were discussed and they haven't happened yet, or they're things that are on the back burner. So I don't want to share too much right now with you, but it's exciting to think that, a couple years ago, I didn't have this other skill set that I have today. And it was all because I decided to start a podcast that these things are presenting themselves. They would not be presenting themselves if I didn't have a podcast. Let me just say that. Okay. So if you are therapists out there and you want to build your private practice, there is an episode that I did with Dr. Liz Bonet where she talks about how she uses a podcast to grow her business. Go back and listen to that. It's awesome. She gives you lots of different things to think about. But let's just say I was going to go into private practice. Let's just say that Lisa has decided that she is going to go into private practice and she is going to serve a certain niche or population. The first thing I would do when it comes to a podcast is I would get very clear and intentional on the struggles that niche is dealing with, and I would create content around those struggles. And the call to action would be, if you want to go deeper, then book a session with me. Right now, I know you can't do that. I'm licensed in South Carolina. I can do telehealth in Florida, but I would be focusing on those two markets, right? I would be creating content, and the call to action would be, if you live in South Carolina or Florida and you would like to book a counseling session with me, go to my website. But that's what I would be doing. I would be creating content very specific to that niche. Okay. Let's just say I worked in, let's say eating disorders was my specialty. You guys, I hate to say this. People are hungry. Oh, I can't believe I just said that. But people are hungry for information on eating disorders, right? That's just really horrible. I hope you guys don't take that the wrong way. That's not where I was going with that at all. But they are looking for information on what is an eating disorder, things that, signs that you have an eating disorder, how your relationships change when you have an eating disorder. So if that was your specialty, consider creating a show around that issue. It just makes so much sense to me. So yes, if I was going into private practice, that is what I would be doing. If I was a group practice owner, I would have a podcast that, would focus on all the different specialties that my therapists worked within. So whether that be addiction or depression or trauma, I would be doing shows or podcast episodes that talked about those topics. And the call to action would be, if you are ready to work on this issue, book a session with so-and-so. How do you do that? Here's our website. Book your 20-minute free consultation today. People are getting on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and they are looking for information. They are typing in, do I have an eating disorder? How to deal with childhood trauma? Like, they are typing in those things. So you could be number 1 or number 5 or whatever podcast that they find. And podcasting is just an incredible way to reach your audience. Okay. There's less competition on podcasting than there is on other media platforms like YouTube. You're probably going to reach your audience. I mean, I'm just guessing, just because of the numbers, you're probably going to reach your audience faster and quicker on a podcast than you are with YouTube. That's just because there are so many people that are on YouTube and trying to create channels. I would have rather you create your podcast and then create your YouTube channel. I think that would be a smarter move, because there's millions and millions and millions of YouTubers out there, but there's just a percentage of people that are doing podcasts compared to YouTube. Okay. I don't have that number in front of me. I'll look for it as I'm going over these reasons, these market, reasons to start a podcast. Like I said, the platform is still growing. I think it's something like 75% of US households have listened to podcasts. And here's the thing about that is, people who listen to podcasts have a higher income. So they have more income to spend on what it is that you are offering. It's going to expand your search potential. So people, if you're licensed in many different states, they're going to find you. So if you are licensed in 7 different states, chances are they could find you. And you can like SEO your podcast episode titles so they can find you as well. So the SEO is important on podcasting as well. And there's potential to monetize your podcast. You can sell your services, you can sell your products, you might even be able to get a sponsor. I mean, there's lots of different things that you can grab onto or hold onto to monetize your podcast. I think the best way and the quickest way to do it is to sell your own services. So for example, I keep going back to it. If I was in private practice, obviously the call to action is book a session with me. And if I got somebody to book a session with me, man, I would definitely be making my money back on that. The time and the energy to put into podcasting, it definitely takes some time to get it up and running. It takes time to get it going and for it to get out there, but it's evergreen. It's not like an Instagram post or a Facebook post where you're having to fight with the algorithm constantly. And then, that post gets lost after a couple hours or a couple days. It's just not driving traffic to your Facebook page anymore or to your website. If it's evergreen like a podcast, it's going to stay there. And every day somebody is looking for, how to deal with childhood trauma on, Google or even on Pinterest or even on Apple Podcasts. So if you search for that on Facebook, sure, some things are going to come up, but chances are you'll have better success if you are using podcasting to reach your audience. I mean, this is just what the statistics are saying out there about, how many people are podcasting. Let me see if I'm going to hold on. Yes. Okay. So currently there are below 3 million podcasts worldwide, but there are over 37 million YouTube channels and over 1 billion blogs. And if you consider that as an estimate, over 90% of these are searchable, that makes it substantially harder to compete than with podcasting. So think about that. You are having a harder time if you decide to do a YouTube channel or a blog than if you decided to do a podcast. It just makes sense. So some other reasons for starting a podcast that they don't have anything to do with marketing or building your business, but you get to interview people that you look up to. That's pretty neat. You get to connect with people, you get to interview them. And for some people, that's a really big reason to start a podcast. If you enjoy connecting with others, then podcasting is great. If you enjoy connecting with others and creating content and you just like talking with people and hearing their stories, then there you go. Podcasting is a great way to do that. And like I said, you enjoy helping others. If you just want to make more of an impact and get your topic out there, maybe you want to educate, you want to inspire, maybe you want to entertain, just getting your voice out there and recording podcast episodes, you're going to do just that. Okay. And what I love about it is they can listen anytime, anywhere, any place. It's available 24/7, 365, a podcast. You can just pop on your phone, pull up your podcast platform, a player of choice, and listen away. One of my favorite times to listen to podcasts is on a walk. I'd much rather listen to a podcast than I would listen to like a webinar or watch a video. Well, it'd be hard to watch a video while I'm on a walk. I love listening to podcasts while I'm driving, while I'm walking, while I'm waiting for the girls. It's just an easy way to take in information. So there you have it. This is a short and sweet episode about why you should consider starting a podcast. If you've thought like podcasting is something that you want to do, but you're not sure which podcast is the direction you should go in, then definitely take my What Type of Podcast Should You Create quiz. You can do that. It's on my website. It's just a short quiz. It's really fun. And then at the end, it tells you like what type of podcast would be best for your goals. You can also join my podcaster lounge. It's only $5 a month, you guys. We meet once a month on a Zoom call on your lunch hour. It's like a Friday at around noon Eastern time. And you can ask me anything about podcasting. This is my way of giving back and answering your questions. And I'm also feeling it out. Should I create something that helps people podcast or not? So this is just kind of my way of feeling things out and in answering questions that you guys have. And it's really fun. It's low key. You can pop on for 5 minutes. You can pop on for an hour, whatever works with your schedule. I hope you guys found this short and sweet episode helpful, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Hey guys, before we end this episode, if you are liking my content, if you're liking my podcast, be sure to go over and leave me a 5-star review on the podcast platform of your choice. And if you are up for it, I'd love it if you left me a review as well. Well, that wraps up another episode of The Therapy Show with Lisa Mustard. I know there are hundreds of thousands of podcasts out there, and I'm thankful you've chosen to listen to mine.
Be sure to visit lisamustard.com to access the show notes and discover more fantastic content.
And I'd be grateful if you subscribe to the show. Thank you.